So I'm going to start off with Ivory Black. A lot of you will probably have this in your watercolour set. It's a useful colour, but I don't like to use it on its own, but it's just quite nice just to show you what it looks like. And it's just your typical sort of black colour. It's a little bit on the warm side. This is neutral tint. A lot of artists like neutral tint. So you can see it's a little bit more grey black, and it's quite a useful colour. I definitely recommend neutral tint. This is good old Paynes Grey. Everyone has Paynes Grey, and it's, you can see it's a more of a cooler, bluer grey. This is Indigo, which is even cooler. You can see there's a lot more blue in here. Which is again quite a useful colour. A lot of you may have Sepia, which is a very, very dark brown, a useful dark tonal colour, especially for colour mixing. Now, I know a lot of you love Moonglow by Daniel Smith, so I thought I'd include that here. It's a very pretty colour and sort of breaks down into sort of two colours as well. The pink comes out. By accident, I put a bit of the Indigo in here, thinking it was more Moonglow, and I quite like the colour actually, Indigo with Moonglow. So just putting it out there, I thought I'd keep that in there. I love the way that's run as well. So I've decided to put a little bit of Moonglow at the bottom. It's almost like a black with a touch of pink. And this is lamp black. I don't actually have lamp black, but this is my Daniel Smith dot card. So I thought I'd show you the lamp black. It's slightly cooler than the Ivory Black. So I thought it's useful just to show you an example of this here. These cards are so useful actually if you're just deciding on the colours that you like there, and you can see there's a lot of variety of darks, so many darks out there, and these are sort of more your indigos, your cooler darks, your Paynes Grey, your Moonglows, and Shadow Violet, another gorgeous dark. So they're all the kind of darks, ready-made darks, but I'm going to show you how to mix darks, hopefully, with the colours that you already have. You may find in a lot of watercolour sets, you'll have Alizarin Crimson, which is the pink I'm using here, and Viridian, which is a cool sort of dark green. Mix them two together and you get a beautiful grey. Sort of, I've added a bit of Alizarin Crimson there, but I've added more green. Look how dark that is. It's almost black. And it's such a beautiful colour, and as you add water to it, you can see the lighter version now. I think I've got a little bit too much green there, but if you add them both together, you can really neutralise the colours to create a beautiful grey. I've taught watercolour classes for years, and lots of my students loved Paynes Grey, and I always used to say you don't need Paynes Grey. All you need is ultramarine, burnt umber or burnt sienna to mix and to make an artist Paynes Grey. So I'm going to show you here, this is ultramarine and burnt umber, which is a sort of mid to dark brown, and I've watered them down there just so you can see, and the ultramarine is a dark sort of warm blue. And I will put a link in the description below about different sort of colour mixings, from cool and warm colours to how to mix your colours and how to mix greens. That's burnt sienna on the right there, and what I'm doing now is I'm adding burnt umber to the ultramarine. I'm just popping it here. Look at that. Look how dark that is. It's almost like the neutral tint. Definitely like the Paynes Grey. So there we are. You've already made an artist Paynes Grey, and you can do this with student colours as well, student ultramarine and burnt umber. I've added a little bit more burnt umber there so you can get a lovely dark brown using these two colours. And now I'm adding a little bit more blue, so you have a blue grey. So you can really get some lovely darks with these two colours. So if you're unsure about what colours to have, just have a blue, ultramarine, a burnt sienna, a burnt umber, and you'll create some lovely darks. So I'm just adding the ultramarine with the Paynes, with the burnt sienna here. And these two colours work so well in stormy skies. The burnt sienna sort of separates, granulates, and creates some lovely warmth as well. So I really recommend those two colour mixes. Now, if you have darks, I'm always sort of saying to my students, don't use the darks on their own, or greens for that matter, because sometimes they can look a little bit flat. It's just a personal thing. So, for instance, I'm using the Ivory Black here, and I'm mixing a little bit of magenta. Any pink will do, and you just get this lovely dark. It just has more depth to it. It's just me, but I love to have depth in my darks. And you look at that there, you've created some warm dark there, and you can add blue as well to the black, or brown, any sort of green even. So try these colours out. So I'm adding ultramarine now to the black, And here we are, look at that. Isn't that beautiful? And I just love sort of adding darks. I think I got a little bit of pink still on my brush there, but it's quite nice actually, that dark. So it's fun colour mixing. It can be very, very therapeutic. So I'm actually adding a Paynes Grey and some cadmium red here. So you get some, so it's quite a cool sort of grey colour, Paynes Grey. Add a little bit of red to it, just warms it up. So you're getting a little bit of control and depth there, and that is a gorgeous colour. I love the way the colours dry as well. They can look so effective. So now I'm using a little bit of Prussian blue here and a warm red. So it's a cool dark blue Prussian blue, and I'm using the cadmium red. I think I used a little bit too much cadmium red. So colour mixing, you know, don't be too hard on yourself if you don't get it right. Keep practicing. Some colours are very sort of bossy and creamy and sort of dominate the other colours. So sometimes you kind of have to balance them out. But look at that beautiful colour there. I think it's a little bit too Prussian blue looking still. So I've added a little bit more red to neutralise it a little bit and just play around with it, like I say, and see what happens. The good things about the Prussian blue and red is if you add a little bit of Prussian blue to the red, you just can darken your red as well, which is really useful. But isn't that a beautiful colour? So I'm actually just labelling these now because you'll look back later in your sketchbook and think, how did I get that colour? So try to make a note of it before you forget. So before I move on to mixing primary colours, I just thought I'd show you the colour circle. So what I'm going to do now is mix up ultramarine with orange. And they're the opposite colours, as you can see on the colour circle. So basically the orange is the red and yellow. And as you saw already, I've mixed the pink and the green, not quite opera rose, alizarin crimson. And that worked really well to create a dark. And as you saw there, I mixed up the cadmium red with the Prussian blue. And that worked really well. Not quite opposite on the colour circle, but enough to neutralise one another and to create a lovely dark. So let's have a little go then, mixing primary colours. I'm starting off here with some cadmium red, rinsing my brush, and then getting a little bit of the permanent yellow, which is a warmer green, and rinsing my brush again. And I'm going to just get a little bit more of the yellow to make a sort of medium orange colour here. Rinsing my brush again. And I hope this helps with the colour mixing, just the way to achieve the colours. You have to really sort of rinse your brush so there's no contamination. And I'm adding a little bit of blue. It still looks a bit green at the moment, sludgy green, so a touch more blue to neutralise that colour to get my dark. Just adding a little bit more blue. I think I'm nearly there. Let's have a little test. That looks dark enough for sure, and it doesn't look green, it doesn't look violet, it's been neutralised. I'm just adding a bit of water to see, and that's actually quite a good dark colour there, just mixing the three primary colours. Happen to be three warm primary colours as well. So this is a little bit of sap green. I'm just rinsing my brush, taking the excess water off there. I'm going to add a little bit of the magenta, quinacridone magenta, giving my brush a rinse there as well. It's not quite as dark and as cool as the alizarin crimson and the Viridian mixed together. It's because the sap green is a warmer colour, so it's making these two colour mixes quite a browny colour. It's a lovely colour, by the way. I wouldn't call it as much sort of darks or sort of a grey or a black, but it is a very useful colour, lovely brown. So I'm just making a note of that. I'm just reminding you the Viridian and the alizarin crimson together made that beautiful dark grey. So I'm just adding a little bit more of the sap green to that colour there, just to show you the sort of different sort of variety of colours you can get just by mixing these two colours. So it's a little bit more of a green bias there. So let's try a warm red and green. So this is the cadmium red. I'm going to rinse my brush again, take the excess water off, get a little bit of that sap green, put it in there. Already it looks brown, doesn't it, with the green and the red mixed together. Lovely. It creates gorgeous browns actually, mixing a warm red with a warm green. As you can see here, I'm getting a really lovely variety of colours. And you can imagine mixing this with an ultramarine actually, looking back at this, would create a really nice colour as well, lovely dark. Another way of recording the colours that you've mixed is actually to put a little blob of each colour above so you know how you achieve that colour mix. And that's what I've actually done here with my colours. So if I go back and have a look, I know exactly how I achieve that colour. So my last colour mix is violet and yellow. They are opposite one another on the colour circle. Violet is pink, a cool pink, so it could be the Alizarin crimson mixed with ultramarine, and I'm just using a yellow here. You can use warm or cool, lemon yellow or a cadmium yellow deep, and I'm mixing them together here, and look at that gorgeous dark. Yellow mixed with violet creates the most amazing darks, so I hope you have fun trying that out. So here is a close-up of the colours here, the darks, the lamp blacks, the indigos mixed with other colours to create even more interesting darks. Here are the original colours and my favourite darks, the alizarin crimson, the viridian, the ultramarine and the burnt umber, all burnt sienna. So I really hope you found this tutorial helpful, learning how to mix darks, making your darks darker, more interesting as well. If you have any questions about this tutorial, please put them in the comments section below. And for those of you that would like access to longer, more in-depth watercolour tutorials, why not check out my Patreon membership? Details about that can be found in the top right-hand corner or in the description below. Thank you so much for watching. Happy painting. Bye for now.